And there we go. We are in our new studio. That's technical issues. We'll find out why we're so tiny, but we'll get it worked out. Matthew, good to see you, my friend. Prime time golf tonight.
Yeah, I actually just put an article up on Sports Talk Georgia about it. I'll probably go and throw it on Sports Talk Florida after we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's I wrote it. They really nailed a lot of the event. Like they did a great job. The
Mm-hmm.
lineups are fantastic. I think the format is better in terms of how the audience that they want to market it to, and that
Mm-hmm.
younger audience. Short form content's all the rage these days. TikTok, Instagram
Mm-hmm.
Reels. Everybody's got a version of it now. And the way they're doing the events, they're doing timed events, time short game, time driving.
Mm-hmm.
All like I think of the five events, timed is the first word in three of them. Um, so they did a really good job with the lineups, and we can get into that, and I can break the dynamics of the participants down in a little bit. But yet they still failed at the most crucial aspect of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't market it well. I it came across my Instagram page when Rory and Scotty both posted about it a couple weeks ago. I completely forgot about it. I didn't see anything else. They didn't really post anything else until today. They started posting about it today. But like there's no forward marketing with these events for the PGA Tour, and it's something that they continue to fail at and reaching these younger audiences that they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to tailor these events to. Like it's a really good job. And in terms of the scheduling, they did a fantastic job. The NBA Cup was last night. The NFL will be on tomorrow. There's two college bowl games, but those are two group of five teams or four group of five teams that are playing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily going to be a national event. They hit the right window. Their only true competition is a full slate of NHL games, which all of those aren't nationally broadcasted either.
Right.
So they nailed the lineups, they nailed the scheduling, but yet again, they failed at their marketing.
A couple behind the scenes things here with this one. The actual contract wasn't signed until I think it was 5 weeks ago for this thing to be okay, and it was kind of a last minute thing because NBC and it's a made for television event. I mean, let's be honest about what it
Mm-hmm.
is, but it's a proof of concept, like you just said. This might be something, that you know maybe those of us who are golf purists may not be overwhelmed with it, but you don't know until you see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll be fun. Scotty Scheffler, got the Player of the Year award 2 years in a row now. Uh,
4.
Four? Is it four?
Mm-hmm. 4 years in a
Okay.
row.
So four in a row, and you've got Rory McIlroy, and they have some really solid teams in this, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I mean, marketing is everything, and the PGA doesn't do a really good job of marketing except for the majors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something because I liked the skins game concept, and
Mm-hmm.
again, they brought it back this year, but they did minimal marketing for that as well. And again, I think they're nailing the dynamics that they're setting forth in these things. Like with the skins game, they went back to that Ryder Cup to the
Mm-hmm.
Ryder Cup energy, and they're trying to feed off that again with this Golf Channel games. They had Xander Schauffele and Keegan Bradley against Tommy Fleetwood, or not against, but with Tommy Fleetwood, and I think was it Shane Lowry was the
Shane
other
Lowry, yeah.
contestant in the skins game earlier
Mhm.
in December.
Yeah.
Um, so they did a good job again with the lineups there, but again they failed with the marketing. The concept there is still a really good concept
Mm-hmm.
because whether or not people want to admit it, golfers tend to be pretty heavy gamblers. That's
Yep.
generally a pretty solid skins game is something that you typically play with your friends when you want to spice your golf game up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a system that would appeal to a lot of people who play golf or are golf fans. And again, they've failed to market it. They've got all the storylines, but they haven't pushed them. Like you've got Keegan Bradley and Luke Donald playing in this thing tonight. They're both the Ryder Cup captains, and
Mm-hmm.
there was animosity in the Ryder Cup. Maybe
Yeah.
it didn't stem between the two teams directly, but there was some there. Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler is a rivalry that the PGA Tour is pushing a little better than honestly I would have expected, given us talking about their failures in marketing.
Mhm.
And it's one that's not born out of hatred between the other two, but it's
Yeah.
born of success between the two of them, world number one and world number two. And then you've got the rising stars in Luke Clanton and Haotong Li.
Mhm.
Lee came onto the scene really in the Open Championship when he was in the final pairing with Scheffler, who won this past year at Royal Portrush. And then finally, finally, you have the best friends, and that's Shane Lowry and Sam
Mhm.
Burns.
Right.
Lowry, good friends with McIlroy. Burns, great friends with Scheffler, and both those guys played on the Ryder Cup teams as well. So the dynamics are there. The format is there, but they still have missed the mark when it comes to getting the event in front of the public eye. I was just gonna say I compare it to, I don't love I do some marketing for the articles when I put them out, but I don't want to shove them down people's throats.
Right.
And that's what it feels like. The PGA is taking a similar stance that I do. I'm not saying it's a correct stance either. And they feel like almost afraid to market these things. Like they just don't really put it out there all that much.
Part of, and this is going to sound crazy coming from me because it being in the TV business, I have no bloody idea from week to week where the damn golf tournament's going to be on. Is it CBS this week? Is it NBC this week? Is it, does the Golf Channel have part of it? Where the hell are we? And that I think is, NASCAR decided to split the baby, right? They gave half of the season to Fox, the other half to NBC, and a little pinch of the summertime goes to Prime. So it's there, but at least I know, all right, till to the 4th of July, NASCAR's on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
After a brief, summer 4 or 5 races on Prime, it's over to NBC. But that, the golf in the winter, most of the time that's on NBC. We now have a situation too where the Golf Channel doesn't belong to NBC anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's spin totally off. USA got spin totally off. Mm-hmm. So, the machinations of the network presidents in sports, you've got the events, but you're putting them on networks that you frankly don't even own anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
and
that's a problem.
Yeah, and luckily they did put it's called the Golf Channel Games, so you do know that it's going to be on the Golf Channel.
Right? That helps. Yeah.
It'll also be on USA Network as well tonight at 7:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. I don't know where they're missing the mark. They've done the Creator Classics now for 2 years, mm-hmm. which is another attempt. Yet it's still not fantastically marketed by the tour. I mean, if you want to see the way to market that stuff, they did something. Barstool Sports partnered with Bob Does Sports. Bob Does Sports, big YouTube channel. Barstool Sports mm-hmm. is a media company, obviously run by Dave Portnoy and all of the personalities that they have under their umbrella. Sure. But they did something. Oh God, why can I not think of what it is? But they did their own version of the Creator Classic, and they turned it into a larger event, a 4-round event mm-hmm. That they put out. And I mean, I don't know the numbers that the Creator Classic does, but mm-hmm. I would be shocked if it's anything even close to half of what that event that Bob Does Sports and Barstool Sports put out earlier this year. Mm-hmm. The Internet Invitation, that's what it's called.
Oh, there you go. Let me ask you a question. I don't know if you have one in your neighborhood or in the area, mm-hmm. But I've seen so many young players and people who've never played the game before at Topgolf. Mm-hmm. And you go to Topgolf and these, everybody's having fun. It's a great time. And it is a wonderful opportunity for the PGA. I don't know what the hell they're doing, why they're not getting into this. to say, okay, cool, put up some tickets to events, do some maybe have a local pro say, okay, here's what's going to happen. If you win here, you get one free round at the golf course closest to top. I mean, whatever.
Hmm.
But that's, to me, you're getting golf's getting a lot of really good play because of things like Top Golf,
Hmm.
and they're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, and the same goes for YouTube. Like they have so many successful avenues
Hmm.
of this game that they are the largest. Like they are the largest professional outlet of,
Hmm.
and yet they seem to fail to capitalize on opportunities. They have the YouTube. They have Top Golf. I mean, heck, they got Tiger Woods going and making his own mini golf courses called
Right.
Top Stroke. I've been there. It's
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, they have all these successful entertainment things that are run parallel with it, and yet they don't have any partnerships with it. And it's something that it feels like a misstep and a failure on a part of the PGA Tour. It to be honest with you, it feels like it took them a really long time post Tiger Woods to really kind of find something that they could market well. And Roy McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler in this, them going head to head or even playing
Mhm.
together, it has finally been the place that they found themselves. But prior to that, they were kind of, floundering for ideas. It seemed.
When I was in college, there was a place not far from campus that you could play golf at night, and it was an all par three course.
Hmm.
And I can honestly tell you that, I mean, I always enjoyed golf, but whenever we played that 18 holes of par three golf, after that, I really got better at my game, number one.
Hmm.
And number two, I got a more passionate deal for it because, I could play at night. It wasn't as hot. Florida, growing up in Florida, it's hot in the daytime.
Yeah.
It's not that much different in Georgia,
What is
and the
not?
humidity. So you played at night. Your worst problem is if you can't hit irons, and the second worst problem is mosquitoes.
Hmm.
So it's these are missed opportunities, and I think to a great extent the way that the PGA and golf in general is set up is kind of to a point where it's like it's just an exclusive club. They don't necessarily
Hmm.
want you in that club. And I think that if they continue along those lines, that club will die out.
Hmm. And another aspect that I feel like they miss on now,
Mhm.
because really, really from its inception and for most of its history, golf is a male dominated sport. I
Sure.
don't think there's any getting around that. But now more than ever, they have stars on the LPGA. Like they have people they can market. And yet it feels like it's a misstep there. There's really popular golf content creators that are women on the
Mhm.
YouTube side as well. Like they have these opportunities not only to reach a younger audience, but to reach a more female audience as well. And both of them seem like relatively untapped markets for the PGA, but they have opportunity for growth, and it seems like it's presented itself more than ever, and yet they just have not been able to capitalize on it.
I'll tell you what, I've gone to a number of PGA tournaments, or I'm sorry, LPGA tournaments, and the golf is phenomenal. These young ladies can play golf really well. And you're right. There's been a number of young women who have become brand ambassadors, and become YouTube stars and Instagram stars and TikTok stars, all because they understand that golf is something that they can play and play it well and enjoy it.
Mhm.
And for some reason, overseas, specifically over in Asia, man, it's huge. I mean,
Mhm.
golf is huge from a women's standpoint. Over here, not so much. And they're missing again. The LPGA and PGA are missing, opportunities and basically shooting themselves in the foot.
Mhm. Yeah, they are. And I don't have a degree in marketing. It's not what I studied at all.
Right.
But it feels like such a like so I don't have exact answers, but it does feel like a pretty cut and dry direction that you could take this thing in and be really successful in it. You talked about the night golf. Night golf's something that they have something called the Grass League out in Arizona that they play throughout the winter.
Mm-hmm.
That's been really successful. They host a tournament prior to the Waste Management Open. That's a night golf tournament. It has drawn pretty strong in-person fan support. And last year they finally really I think they got it on the Golf Channel last year. I can't remember exactly. But they live stream it from, some of the bigger YouTube channels and stuff like that. That's another good outlet. There are these outlets and there are these untapped potentials. And it doesn't have to be Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy every time.
Sure.
There are personalities on this tour that you can push and that are likable characters. I talked about Haotong Li, and he got a pretty good amount of fanfare after that tied for fourth finish at the Open that I talked about.
Right.
But the other guy that they have on Scotty's team tonight, Luke Clanton, he's a guy who was a star at Florida State, skipped Q School, skipped the Korn Ferry Tour, earned his PGA Tour card last year through his play. And he's done a really good job of marketing himself. Really, the PGA Tour has put a little bit of effort towards marketing him as potentially the next star as well. But he's made appearances on the biggest YouTube golf channels as well. So it's a step in the right direction when you see the way they've handled just Luke Clanton. But that's a one-off example of the PGA Tour getting it right when they've gotten it wrong so many times.
Let's jump. By the way, if you're interested in all this having to do with what's on tonight, just drop by Sports Talk Florida. I wrote a story on it. It's there today. You've got all the times, you've got all of the pairings, you've got all the rules to all the different parts of this game. So if you're not sure what it is, definitely, as Matt said, it's something I'm going to watch just to see, how it comes out. But it'll be very entertaining. Let's move over. I've got a story coming out tomorrow, and I've done some serious research on this one. On, why is Michigan honing in on Kenny Dillingham? And also, there are a couple others, but Kenny Dillingham that name keeps rising up and up and up on that to the top. And, we talked about what we had hoped he would do, right? And that's stay at Arizona State, build that program into something special. And here's my question. Do the fans at Arizona State University care as much about the football team as Kenny Dillingham does? Because last year when they made it to the playoffs, they only had 2 sellouts. Now this year they did sell out, I believe, 6 of their games. But that's only a 53,000 seat stadium. And so, I think the guys at Michigan are sitting back and going, okay, fine, we're not pitching much, but, dude, if you come up here, you're going to get twice that much, in a way. And they will come whether you win or whether you lose. There's 105,000 people there. So I think what the people from at least I spoke to some folks I know out at Arizona State, and at Arizona State, they keep saying, well, we're working on an extension for him, and he wants to be here. But he keeps asking, where are the fans?
Yeah, that's fair. Another point about it is the resources. Like, is there a point where Kenny Dillingham looks at it and goes, like I really love Arizona State, and I would like to be able to build something here, but I just don't have the resources necessary. You look at Sam Leavitt, a quarterback that he got over there at Arizona State after he left Michigan State. I think it was following Mel Tucker's firing.
Yeah, it was.
He left there. He'd already committed. He was on campus. He left there, transferred to Arizona State. Dillingham gave Leavitt 2 good years. Leavitt gave him 2 good years. But ultimately, they just don't have the resources to keep Leavitt at quarterback. So he's developed him for 2 years, and now he's going to go somewhere else, probably win a little bit more, and they might get the credit, or probably will get the credit when he gets drafted.
Yeah, but the passion that Kenny has for his alma mater. And we
Mhm.
always love to see guys go back to where they grew up and be successful. And the fact that he was at ASU as a student, and then now he's coming back and he's coaching. You hate to see the fact that the fans. I mean, what more does this guy have to do to make you want to come out and watch the football games?
Yeah, no, I mean you can't force fan buy-in.
No.
Yeah, it's tough to do. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what sport reigns supreme in Arizona. Arizona's high school football is very good. Really, Arizona, especially this year, Arizona's college football has been good.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the dominating sport? Is there a dominating sport in Arizona?
I don't think there is.
And so when Arizona, they're ranked top 20 this year. They're playing in. Are they playing in the Sun Bowl? Is that the bowl they're playing in?
I think so. Yeah.
They're playing in the Sun Bowl, so they're playing in a that upper tier of bowl games that we still have. Yet Arizona's attendance isn't going to be fantastic. Same goes for Arizona State. Their attendance isn't fantastic, but when they are there, when they do show up, it's great. Does it stem from the conference they're in? Is the Big 12 just not enough of a draw for these people at Arizona State? Like, do they need the big draws? It seems now more than ever that fans need a big draw to show up to a football game. I mean, you can go back and you can listen to Kirby Smart talk about it. He was upset with Georgia's fans showing for a lot of the year. From his spot, I'm sure people will probably gripe and moan about him complaining about fan attendance, but it's still a legitimate issue in this week in and week out fan attendance at everywhere. It's not just Arizona State. It's a lot of places, but Arizona State does have a glaring issue when it comes to trying to keep a top tier head coach. When you can go to a place where, maybe they don't sell it out every week, but they're going to have 70, 80,000 in the stands no matter what.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, you mentioned the conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State and why it worked well in the PAC was because a ton of Southern California kids, when they want to go out of state, don't want to go so far out of state that the family can't come and watch them. So if you live in the LA, Orange County area down Southern California, even down to San Diego, a flight to Phoenix costs about $70 and it takes an hour. Okay. So it's not that far. So you can go and watch your kids, or you can go watch your friends, or you can drive. I mean, for that matter. So as a matter of fact, ASU physically has a campus in the city of Los Angeles. So they're getting the kids from Southern California. Even Al Michaels. Al Michaels is a graduate of Arizona State University, grew up in Los Angeles. But, I think they miss playing against USC. They miss playing against UCLA. They miss playing against Stanford. All these schools that was, in their mind, places where they know. And I think, and this is whether it's fair or not, okay, I think they feel that they dropped into an inferior conference.
Yeah, and I mean, fairly so. Just in terms of brand value, not in terms of the football played week in, week out. Because you can make an argument that in terms of the product that the Big 12 gave you, maybe just like if you're looking at it from a pure football standpoint, probably not the same that you're going to get in the SEC or the Big 10. Sure. But in terms of like the entertainment value of the games, Big 12 is right up there with the SEC and the Big 10 in terms of the product that they put in. And that's due to, that middle tier is really close together. So they have pretty much competitive games week in, week out, no matter what. But the brands aren't the same. Like it probably doesn't feel the same when, Colorado's probably the worst example that I could.
Well, I was going to say Texas Tech.
Right? Yeah, Texas Tech
comes into town. I can guarantee you, if they go to Arizona State, if Arizona State's hosting Texas Tech, there's probably not maybe 10% of the people in that building that even know where Texas Tech is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know the name, but if you said where are they at, and where's Lubbock, they wouldn't know. So I think that you're probably looking at a situation where they just don't know these schools. These are not household names to them. And that doesn't mean that they're bad, and it doesn't mean that the Big 12 is bad. It just means I'm not used to seeing these people.
Yeah. And you said there that Arizona State Stadium, it seats how many?
About 54,000.
Okay, so when Texas Tech came to town, and you got to give them credit here. When Texas Tech came to town, I believe they played a Friday night football game this year. Yeah. The attendance was 54,177 fans. I think that was one of the ones where maybe they rushed the field again. Because Texas Tech was top 10 when they visited. They upset them, and big game for Arizona State. But Texas Tech isn't coming to town every week. Like the top 10 team isn't coming to town every week. It shouldn't take a top 10 football team for you to sell out your stadium in terms of your fan engagement.
Well, they sold out all 6 of their home games this year. Okay, that's good. But how much? Where's that retention? Right? Are you going to be able to? They didn't get to the playoffs this year. Okay, so even though everybody showed up, and they're going to have a good football team again next year, are we going to have 4 of the 6 being sellouts, 3 of the 6 being sellouts? Are we going to be able to do that? If that's the kind of buy-in you got a problem. And I think that's where Kenny Dillingham is. I hasten to say he's pissed off, but I think he's probably disappointed that. I mean, if you've seen him, we've both seen him. Kenny Dillingham eats, drinks, sleeps, and absolutely talks ASU all the time. He talks him up. He's been, God love him, he's been very good at keeping Arizona kids in Arizona, which is not an easy task. But he's been able to do it, and he recruits the hell out of Southern California. But as I said in the story that's coming up tomorrow, if he leaves, it'll simply because the experiment that he went home and he wanted to get ASU football on the map and nobody cared is going to be the reason. It's going to be that. It's not going to be the money. It's not going to be any of that other stuff.
Yeah, no, it's. I think the only other thing that would draw Kenny Dillingham away would be if he really wanted to win a championship, like in the near future. Because Michigan went 9-3 this year, full of talent. 9-3 kind of felt like a bit of a down year this year for them. They've got the financial backing and the resources to be able to build a championship roster year in and year out. Cupboards full of young players there. So you could win a championship. You could be maybe not win. You would be right there at the top of the championship picture at Michigan if you're killing Kenny Dillingham, and I would say no less than year 2. But yeah, no, you're not. It is going to be hard, or not going to be hard. They will never replicate the fan buy-in that Michigan has. Plain and simple. There's no way that they can do it. But what they can do is they can give them the best fan support that Arizona State has. And right now, the best that Arizona State has just has not been it. I don't think it has been the best that Arizona State can offer, if I'm being honest with you. I think they have a little more, which is disappointing. They did sell – you said they sold out all 6, which is good. But it took a college football playoff appearance for them to sell out all 6. Like, that's what it took. It didn't take –
the year that they played their way into the playoff, right? They only sold out 2 games.
Yeah, and again, it's when you've hired a new guy too. Like Kenny Dillingham was fresh there at Arizona State. You're supposed to get excited and buy in to the new head coaching hires, and Arizona State as a university or as a fan base just didn't do that.
What's funny, a friend of mine is a sports anchor out in Phoenix, and he's one of the ones that I've been speaking to about Kenny. And he said, "Look, Jim," he says, "I will tell you that when Kenny Dillingham isn't coaching or practicing a football game, let's say it's off season, right, for football, he said you will see him everywhere from a McDonald's to, to different high schools. He is absolutely always." He said, "I haven't seen a week gone by that I haven't seen Kenny Dillingham do interviews, walk around, go to high schools, he's been interviewed by 25 high school newspapers, so, I mean, you can't sell any harder than that."
Yeah, and also the doing the interviews, it shows how much like love he really has for Arizona State and that
Huh?
community as a whole. Because like you don't have to do that. That's not stuff you have to do
No,
as a head coach.
not in his contract.
Yeah, it's stuff that you want to do. For really, because I mean those high school papers, that's an amazing interview to get as a high school reporter.
Yeah.
The head coach of your local college football team and Kenny
Mhm.
Dillingham. Not only that, he's a great interview.
Right.
In and of itself. So it's stuff that he's doing on his own, and it shows, I think, why he hasn't taken the Michigan job yet. Because
Mhm.
I think if there was any, like, if he didn't love Arizona State as much as
Mhm.
it seems that he does, he would already be in Ann Arbor right now.
Right. There's no question. There's absolutely no question. And, we get the Kalen DeBoer, updates every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, if you think about this in a weird way, right? If Michigan wanted Caleb DeBoer and DeBoer wanted Michigan, right? You'd have to be rooting for him to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Because if he doesn't lose, which by the way is a very good chance coming up this week, he wouldn't be available for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember seeing a lot of stuff going into the Iron Bowl a couple weeks ago, where there was a lot of, you remember there was the Penn State and Kalen DeBoer smoke that really wasn't, all things considered.
Right.
But there was a ton of Penn State people that were really rooting for Auburn to win that football game, just so his season would be done. He wouldn't be playing in the SEC title. They wouldn't be making the playoffs. He would be free to take another job if he so chose. And that's exactly the same boat that Michigan is going to be in. Come Friday, is they're hoping Oklahoma walks away with that thing, because I think that's what they're waiting on. I think they honestly might be waiting on this Oklahoma Alabama game to end, because as I said yesterday, Kalen DeBoer can say he hasn't talked to anybody, and that's true. He hasn't talked to anybody, but his agents have.
Sure.
And so those conversations can get a little more ramped up once the season's over. But if things keep going, then eventually Michigan's going to have to hire somebody.
Right.
Really, you want it prior to that portal window opening at the first of the year. And if he wins this game, then guess when Alabama's going to be playing? On the first of the year. And he's not leaving that school in a playoff run.
I guess this is the thing that concerns me, or whatever. You and I have been around the SEC. I used to do the Big Ten games a week.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of a coach leaving Alabama to go to Michigan is like, you've got two of the premier programs in the country. You got one job. You're there now. Why would you leave Alabama to go to Michigan? I mean, and I love both the schools. Well, I can't say I love Alabama. That would be a lie. But Michigan, outstanding. But there's nothing that Michigan can offer you that Alabama can't.
Yeah, at that point, you would have to assume it's more of a fit thing for Kalen DeBoer, and where he would feel maybe, I guess, more comfortable. People talk about, is he there, and he comes out and he says, well, we love it here at Alabama.
Right.
Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. There's no way, unless you pin Kalen DeBoer down and pour truth serum down his throat,
right,
to figure out whether or not he was telling the truth about that. There's a reality where he really doesn't love it there. And that may be the reason why he's looking around. Because to be honest with you, it's really the only reason why he'd be looking around. It's not like Alabama is failing from a recruiting standpoint. They're not really failing from a resource standpoint. They're not failing on the football field. Whether or not Alabama fans believe that, they're not. So there's just limited reasons that you could point to as to why his agents would be talking to other places and looking for a move, other than the fact that he's not really all that content at Alabama. And maybe, like I talked about, they're not failing on the football field, but fans feel like he's failing on the football field. Mm-hmm. It could be something where he's just a little bit frustrated with the fan base as well. I know he's not the only coach in the SEC to be frustrated with their fan base and the overcritical sentiment that they can have about a coach, or even, a coach's, say, offensive coordinator choice.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll have to see how this plays out. I can't see them going more than a week more without hiring somebody.
Yeah, it's, and I didn't actually look into this. I saw something on Twitter that made alluded to the fact that Jedd Fisch might not be involved in this head coaching search anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't really know. I didn't read on it. I didn't research any. I didn't look further. I just kept on scrolling, if I'm being honest. But he was option number 3. But right now it feels like it's going to be one of Kalen DeBoer or Kenny Dillingham. But both of those still feel like it's not like well, Michigan's waiting on X and Y. Like there's no guarantee that Kalen DeBoer leaves Alabama. There's no guarantee that Kenny Dillingham leaves Arizona State.
No.
So neither one of these are guarantees. So I would be very curious if they swing and a miss on 1A and 1B here. Where's Plan B? Where is Plan B at?
I don't think. I think right now, Plan B might be somebody like somebody like a major coordinator on a NFL team. Maybe he goes to go to Baltimore and grab our buddy, the former Georgia guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they've got, Lord knows they got the money to do what they want with. Mm-hmm. And then we just said, because of the exit clause, they got $13 million they don't have to pay out.
Mm-hmm.
So they could throw that into the mix. If I had to guess, and that would be exactly what it is a guess, of the two, I could see Kenny moving before I could see, DeBoer moving.
It seems like there's less in the way of Kenny moving.
Mm-hmm. And there's just no reason why. It's, the passion in that whole routine. It's kind of like we talked about LSU and Lane Kiffin, right? If you fail at Michigan, they'll get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail at Arizona State, they don't care.
No.
Because they had Herbert. You brought it up the other day. They let him stick around forever.
Yeah. No, there's different expectations at both places. And again, we talked about it yesterday. I said Kenny Dillingham not taking the Michigan job because of expectations wouldn't be him running. I don't think it's him running from expectations or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It'd be more of I want to change Arizona State's expectations. There's a lot of places that it feels like their expectations have been changed in terms of the NIL world. Like mm-hmm. for Indiana, last year it's a one-off thing when you have a result like last year. The way Indiana's played this year, now there's been a change. There's been a change in expectations in Bloomington. It's something that hasn't ever existed there, like ever. They are historically the worst program in terms of winning percentage in college football. The expectations did not exist in Indiana, but now Curt Cignetti's changed them. The expectations have changed in Indiana now. Clark Lea, even though they went 6-6 last year, they went 10-2 this year. It still feels like the expectations are starting to change at Vanderbilt. The expectations are starting to change at Ole Miss as well. They feel like they can compete in this mm-hmm. NIL world. There's a lot more places and a lot more opportunity to compete and change expectations across the country. but you got to find the right guy to plug in, and you've got to back him financially and with fan support. So far, Arizona State hasn't really been able to do either of the latter two for Kenny Dillingham. They've given him some financial support, but not enough. And again, some fan support, but it's contingent on how well they play.
Well, I just pulled up, you had mentioned about Jedd Fisch. According to the Detroit News, and by the way, they really have a solid connection to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
It's Michigan that doesn't, has said, thanks but no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's off the board, at least at this point. And they're talking about. I see where Washington's talking about an extension for him. So it looks like he's out of the running.
Mm-hmm. It would have been a pretty funny dynamic had Jedd Fisch been good enough for Michigan, but Florida viewed him as lesser than. And he's a graduate of that school. That would have been. I really would have liked to see the fan interaction online if that had happened.
I thought honestly that'd be a job he would take, and that'd be a job that Scott, Strickland would want him to have.
Mm-hmm.
But they very quickly, zero in on some, on some wrong. I don't, and he's there's no reason to think he's not a good coach. That's just that, you got your boy out there. He's out in Washington State, for God's sake, and he's still recruiting well.
Yeah.
So I don't get it.
Yeah, they've been successful since he's been there. It was a hard job coming into, because we talked about it. I've talked about it before with Kalen DeBoer and how difficult it probably was. Like, it's one thing to theorize filling the shoes of Nick Saban. It's another thing to actually do it. And that may have been a little bit harder than maybe Kalen DeBoer had anticipated. I think you're kind of in a similar circumstance with Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch was coming in to fill Kalen DeBoer's shoes. And Kalen DeBoer's 2 years there, or at least his last 2 years there, were fantastic by the standards of Washington football. Stuff that Chris Peterson did when he was there, and he did a really good job. And based on the results they had, Jedd Fisch comes in to replace a guy who's in the national championship with the Washington Huskies. Like that, that's not easy to do in this day and age necessarily. Especially not at the time he did it in terms of NIL and stuff like that. Like the guardrails were a little bit tighter when he made the national title at Washington compared to what they are now. So it's a hard job to do for Jedd Fisch to come in and replicate, because you can't replicate the results that Kalen DeBoer had there.
No, it's not going to be easy, and it's probably going to be a pain in the tush to get it done. Here are the names that are popping up if DeBoer and they don't get the guy there. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt is one of them. Wouldn't be a bad choice.
No, he's a little bit more northern based, I believe. He was the DC at Notre Dame before he got the head job at Vanderbilt. And again, talked about how he's in the process of changing the expectations at Vanderbilt right now. Obviously, that train can stop if he takes a different job. And I feel like there's this thing, like this public thought process, that since a guy signs an extension, he's not going anywhere. He can't leave. Clark Lee signed an extension. He can absolutely take that Michigan job if the offer's right. Like, it's not something that is preventing him from taking a job.
Here's one for you. And I'm wondering if this is something that comes from Jim Harbaugh. A name that's popped up and they said is kind of rising to the top as a possible replacement is Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator.
I would ask the question to Michigan people, specifically that athletic department that's currently under a university investigation. Why in God's green earth would you reassociate yourself with that coaching staff?
Right.
Like you have the opportunity to clean house and reset everything,
Hmm.
and maybe take back this arrogant term that is a Michigan man or
Right.
whatever. And if you bring Jesse Minter in, I don't care how good of a coach he is, you're resetting the clock on everything, because all it does is turn you back, and it feels like it's more of the same, more
Well,
of these
yeah,
scandals.
he was Jim's coordinator at Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, there's videos of Connor Stallions whispering in his ear, like giving him the play calls. Like this isn't a guy who is absolved of blame in that entire sign stealing scheme. So again, why would you go back down that path? You have an opportunity for a fresh start. Don't let Jim Harbaugh get in your ear and have this
Hmm.
guy be the head coach. It's not necessary. He's doing a fine job in the NFL right now.
Hmm.
Let him be.
Oh man. So we'll see how it all pops out, but um, the the next coach of Michigan, I'm guessing we'll be able to name that guy when we get together. Maybe not next Wednesday, but next Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They can't wait much longer. They just can't.
No. And I mean, you honestly may have a better idea after this weekend where this coaching search is going after these
Right.
first round games are played. If Alabama wins, I feel like you're going to have. I feel like the result on Friday is going to give you a clearer picture
Hmm.
in terms of this head coaching search, one way or the other.
Well, and I don't. I mean, we've talked about it. I don't think. I think Oklahoma beats Alabama.
Yeah, I'm of the same train of thought. It's a toss up game for sure. But Alabama talked about. Actually, Kalen DeBoer talked about it in his post-game press conference at the
Hmm.
SEC title. He said, "We're going to be a different team in a couple weeks. We're going to get some guys back." You look at that depth, the injury chart that came
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
Who'd they get back? Jam Miller? Like he's the only guy that was on that. That was a significant. Jam Miller and Cam Dewberry were the only two guys that were listed on that depth on that injury chart that are back healthy. Josh Cuevas, their tight end, and really a key piece on third down for them, is still listed as questionable. So there's no guarantees that he plays on Friday.
No, I think that how many times have we heard it's almost coach speak that people will say, well, we're getting our guys back next week. Okay, you didn't win with those guys when they were playing, so
Mm-hmm.
you get your guys back. Okay, cool, but
Yeah, and
does that change the idea? No.
an interesting piece of this is these are guys they had in the first round.
Right.
In the first round of this matchup, like against Oklahoma, they had LT Overton, they had Cam Dewberry, they
Hmm.
had a full health Jam Miller. I think Cuevas got hurt in that game.
Hmm.
Um, so those were guys that were there, and it didn't matter. Like the results didn't matter. And now my biggest thing about this matchup is that you're changing a lot of the outside factors for Alabama. You're shifting it to that other side where you're shifting it to the other way, where you're now at Oklahoma. Like you no longer have home field. It's going to be a night game. It's going to be cold there. Now you have the injuries if you're on Alabama's side of things. Oklahoma's attempting to get healthy. I read the injury report. I don't believe I saw R. Mason Thomas on it
Hmm.
for Alabama's side, um, or for Oklahoma's side. So that they're getting healthier. Like I've talked about, I have this theory about John Mateer in his hand,
Hmm.
and there's an easy pushback, and I'll address it after I throw it out there. When John Mateer hurt his hand against Auburn, he had to have surgery on it. And if I remember correctly, the reporting was that the only thing that was going to heal that hand was rest.
Hmm.
It didn't matter, and he played. And maybe you can pitch that somewhere along the line it got healthy, and maybe this is just who John Mateer is against good defenses,
Right.
which is possible. But I had this train of thought that the guy that was a Heisman candidate through the first 4 weeks didn't just magically stop becoming a Heisman candidate or change the way he is as a quarterback. There's some similar numbers in terms of completion percentages and how many passes he threw a game
Hmm.
that changed after that hand injury. But if Oklahoma is able to get the John Mateer prior to his injury back, like if that's who he is against these defenses, then Oklahoma has a very real chance to not only win in round one, they've got a chance to beat Indiana. They have a chance to make a run all the way to the national title game on their side of the bracket. I'm not saying it will happen, but if he is that version of himself from earlier, because they've had the time, the same amount of time, it equates to about a fall camp. Based on the amount of time they've had off, I believe it's going to be about 3 weeks come game time that they'll have had off from football. So John Mateer may have had the time to have his hand heal. And if he's back to the John Mateer of old, then Oklahoma's can be a problem in this playoff bracket.
Yeah, they could be for a lot of people. All right. Well, you know what? Tomorrow we've got football at the NFL style. We got some stuff coming from the college ranks. But tonight it's golf. So we'll enjoy that and just kind of wonder what it would be like to be playing down there. I think they're playing down in Trump's golf course down in Jupiter down there on the east coast of Florida. It's one. By the way, that course really has not been seen on television. It's a beautiful course. So everybody get a chance to see it tonight on USA Network, on Peacock, and on you stream it on Peacock and the Golf Channel. So you got all the places to go and see it. So there you go, boys and girls. Any final thoughts before we get out of here on the Wednesday afternoon, my friend?
Oh yeah, I'll give the lead in for this playoffs that we'll talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
I did like an hour and a half just thumbing through some stats in both the James Madison and Oregon game and the Tulane and Ole Miss game, and they're talent-wise they're different teams. And so I figured, going through these stat profiles, like these are two good teams. They made it here for a reason. I see it a little bit more on the James Madison side. I do not see a path just based purely on the stat profile, and then you factor in the talent of the teams where Tulane beats Ole Miss. I just don't see it. These two teams are going to have to make some real outlier plays if they want any chance at giving us the upset of the playoffs.
Well, both those teams have lost their coaches.
Yeah,
and that's going to make it hard to play. Under normal circumstances, it's not easy to play.
Well, I mean, all four of those teams I just referenced have coaching turnover. Ole Miss lost Lane Kiffin. Tulane and JMU lost their head coaches as well. Oregon didn't lose Dan Lanning, but they all lost their offensive and defensive coordinators.
Right. And they lost a lot of players.
I was about to say, and probably some support staff as well. Oregon, they're getting healthy.
Well, yeah, but playing out at Oregon is going to be something that they've never seen before. So
yeah,
it's that's going to be tough. Even a Dan Lanning Oregon team that's let's say 75% is probably better than James Madison.
Yeah, almost definitely. They have their full attention. Like these group of 5 teams have these big dogs' attention fully, and they can talk as much as they want to. When a group of 5 teams coming into the building, you're better than them, and they'll have your attention to a degree, but it's hard not to take it a little bit lighter. Sure. This is a win or go home. You've got full attention on these guys, and it's just going to be a really hard path. But ironically enough, James Madison has a better chance based on some of the stuff I saw than Tulane does against Ole Miss.
Sometime, hopefully this week, we have 2 days left. Our buddy Joe Wiz, who's going to be with us now on Capital Sports Network, will drop by. Joe is an ESPN handicapper and has his own show on ESPN in New York, and he's a character. He's absolutely a character, but very few people break things down statistically any better than Joe Wiz. So we'll have Joe. As I said, we're really lucky to have him. Chris King's going to come on with us. We had Chris on a couple times, so we're going to be bringing more and more people on as we move forward here, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. And we hope that you hang with us, because we're not just going to, when the football season's over, we're still going to be around. We're supposed to be talking everything from college basketball to golf to, auto racing. We're here
Baseball.
because we want baseball. Yeah, the last year of baseball for a long time. So we'll be talking about that, and so there you go. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon, everybody. Have a great day and stay.